In the summer of 1505, a 21-year-old law student named Martin was caught in a massive storm. Desperate to find a way out, he made a promise: if I make it through this, I will change my entire life. He made it, and 2 weeks later, he dropped out of law school and joined a strictly isolated, highly disciplined community. Now, living in this kind of community in the 16th century meant an entire life of silence and total obedience. But Martin didn't just follow the rules. He took them to an absolute extreme. He slept on cold floors. He pushed his mind to the limit. He would sit with his supervisors for hours, analyzing every single thought he ever had. The others were admitting that they stayed up past lights out. This guy was in there for half the day, cataloging mistakes so microscopic they barely qualified as thoughts. His mentor finally pulled him aside and said, "Look, true growth is a change of heart, not self-imposed hardship." But Martin didn't listen. He later admitted to feeling entirely depleted, because no matter how much he restricted himself, it was never enough to make him feel worthy. His breakthrough, the insight that would eventually reshape history, only came when he finally stopped. When he accepted that no amount of internal pressure would close the gap between who he was and who he thought he should be. You probably don't live in a freezing 16th century community, but if you are someone who deals with high-functioning anxiety, your mind is running the exact same system. You just replace the physical hardship with an impossible standard. You wear your perfectionism like a badge of honor. You tell yourself that your relentless self-criticism is your edge, that it's what makes you so good at what you do and so dependable to everyone around you. But if we are being honest, it usually looks like this. You start a project. You overthink it for weeks. You don't show it to anyone because it's not ready yet. You reread an email sent at 4:12 p.m. at 4:13, 4:31, and 6:02 just to make sure it sounded right. You rehearse your 2 sentences for a meeting, and then the meeting moves on before your turn. But to understand why your brain is running that loop in the first place, we have to look at what happens when you fall short. Think about what actually happens when you criticize yourself endlessly over a mistake. You ruminate. You replay the moment. You tell yourself that you should have known better and that you are going to do better next time. That exhausting, critical loop inside your head feels productive. It feels like accountability. It feels like you are taking it seriously, but you aren't actually doing anything. You aren't fixing the problem. You aren't shipping the work. You are just wearing yourself out. For people with high-functioning anxiety, exhaustion becomes an emotional currency. It feels like you've paid for your failure by feeling terrible about it. And once you've paid enough with bad feelings, you don't actually have to change the behavior. It is penance over progress. This is exactly what Martin was doing in that cold room. He thought that if he pushed himself hard enough, eventually he would feel worthy. But all the pressure did was keep him locked in a cycle where nothing ever changed. Research backs this up. A study from Carleton University found that students who forgave themselves for procrastinating were significantly less likely to do it again. The ones who criticized themselves endlessly, they procrastinated just as much, if not more, the second time. But this makes the high-functioning brain deeply uncomfortable. Being easy on yourself feels like cheating. It feels like a trick. You think, I'm not supposed to feel good about this. I'm supposed to struggle. So how do we actually break the loop? We look at 1935. Government asked engineers to find a way to detect incoming objects across the water. A physicist named Robert figured out that radio waves could do the job. Time was running out, and Robert operated on a philosophy he called the cult of imperfection. His rule was simple: always go with the third best option. The first best option doesn't exist, and the second best option takes too long to build. Psychologists call this the difference between maximizers and satisficers. A maximizer needs to explore every possible option. They need it to be flawless. But research shows that maximizers actually have worse outcomes in life, and they are consistently unhappier with the choices they make because their brain never stops comparing. A satisficer isn't someone who settles. They are simply looking for the exact threshold of good enough. They know the best takes too long. Robert was a satisficer. His early radar system was clunky. It was imprecise, but it was deployed in time to prevent a historical disaster. Imperfect radar changed history. Perfect radar wouldn't arrive for another 10 years. There is a rule in business that says optimal decisions happen when you have 70% of the information. Less than 70%, you make a bad call. More than 70%? And you are just wasting time gathering data that won't change the outcome. By shipping your work, your ideas, or your decisions at 70%, you gain real information about what works. I know the overthinking brain hears this and stresses out. What if the 70% version is embarrassing? What if people judge me? But that stress is the tell. Your worry isn't actually about the quality of the work. It is about being seen. Shipping something imperfect means opening yourself up to the possibility that it's not good enough, and by extension, that you are not good enough. You keep tweaking, polishing, and delaying not because the work needs it, but because your nervous system does. You need the illusion that if you just prepare a little more, or struggle a little more, you can eliminate the risk of being judged. You can't. So here is the move for tonight. Decide what good enough looks like before you start the task. Write it down. When you hit that line, you stop. Real perfection isn't a flawless fantasy in your head. It is the process of getting something out there, letting it be seen, and moving forward. And then you have to actually stop, which is the hardest part. You lay awake at 11:47 p.m. running a silent footage review of everything you said, everything you did, and everything you should have done better. Night is when the day sends its invoice. The tasks you do all day act as a volume control, and when the tasks stop, the noise gets louder. This is actually why I wrote a short guide called The Off Switch. It is completely free, and I put the link in the description below so you can grab it. It's designed specifically to be read in bed right when that footage review starts. It gives you the exact mechanism to interrupt the loop, put the invisible clipboard down, and finally close the day so you can actually sleep comfortably. You can download that right now. You don't need the relentless pressure anymore. You can put it down. Sleep well. You did enough today.